This is the Paracave Podcast, proudly brought to you by major sponsor Jack's Pale Ale, exclusively available at Parramatta Leagues Club, Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty, Bo Cook from Loan Market, BTZD, the official apparel partner of the Paracave Podcast, and the Parramatta Times, the official media partner of the Paracave Podcast.
Welcome to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. And now over to your host, Troy Warner, broadcasting live from the world-famous Paracave.
And yes, hello and welcome back to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. It is Team List Tuesday and it is the tipping podcast and it is round 6 in the NRLW competition, and it is round 26 in the NRL. So it's coming down to the business end of the season. Only 2 rounds left for those teams in those crucial positions to win games, get the 2 points, and either get into the top 8 or get into the top 4 or just hold their place in the top 8. So really there's some crackers of games coming up this weekend. So let's kick it off with the NRLW, and this week sees the Eels take on the Cowboys at Netstrata Jubilee Stadium, and for the purists, for the old school people, it is Cogra Oval in Sydney. And we see the Eels in 10th position on the ladder. They are unfortunately last at the moment. They had a loss against the Raiders, a new team in the competition, 28 points to 22 last week. But they showed a bit of heart and they nearly got the victory. There was one shining light there. There was a great try to Kasi Tohu Hiku down the outside and scored in the corner. A magnificent try. A great try there. So hopefully this week the Eels can turn it around and get a win against the Cowboys, who have had a pretty reasonable first up year in this competition. They've had a couple of wins this year against another new team, the Tigers, and also against last year's premiers, the Newcastle Knights. So they've had a couple of wins and they've shown a little bit of form. And look, it's going to be an interesting game. I think I'm going to go the Eels in this one. They're going to crack the duck egg and they're going to get their first win of the season against the Cowboys in that one. In the next game in the NRLW sees the Dragons take on the Titans at the same ground, Cogra Oval, Netstrata Jubilee Stadium. The Dragons in 8th position. The Titans, one of the high flyers at the competition at the moment, in 4th. Now, the Dragons had a good win against the Tigers last week, 20 points to 16. The Titans have had a couple of losses in a row to the Roosters, the high-flying Roosters, and the premiers from last season, the Newcastle Knights. Previous to that, they had 3 wins in a row. So, a couple of losses in a row now, and look, the last time these two teams met, it was 26 points to 12 to the Dragons last season. Look, the Dragons had a good win there. I think maybe the home team will get the win in this one, so I'm going to tip the Dragons. The Roosters take on the Tigers at Allianz Stadium, 1st versus 5th. Now, the Tigers, they started off the season really well, having a few wins in a row there. They were up the top of the ladder. The Roosters, they're slowly kicking into gear this season, but they've got a star-studded side. Corbin Baxter, Jessica Sergis, Isabel Kelly, Taryn Aiken, Millie Boyle, Keely Davis, Olivia Koenig, just to name a few there. The Tigers, well, they've got Kezi Apps, Botil Vetti Welsh, Rakia Horn. So a couple of good players there as well. I just think the class of the Roosters at their home ground will get the win in this one. The next game sees the Broncos taking on the very impressive Raiders. who are sitting in third spot at the moment on the table. The Broncos in sixth, and this is up at Totally Workwear Stadium in Brisbane, where we saw a couple of weeks ago a double-header played up there. So this is going to be a good game. I think the Broncos, they had a close loss to the Newcastle Knights last week, 22 points to 20, and that was just due to a goal right on full time to the Newcastle Knights. I think it was Jesse Southwell who kicked the goal and got the Knights 2 points in front and for the victory. So the Broncos have started off slow this year with a couple of losses, a close loss to the Titans, but then had a big win against the Cowboys and the Eels. And the Raiders, I think they seem to be the form team of the NRLW at the moment. They've raced up to third on the ladder, 4 straight wins in a row against the Eels, Dragons, Tigers and Roosters. So they're playing some pretty good football. Some great players in this game as well. Obviously the halves for Brisbane, Gail Broughton, Ali Brigginshaw. She just keeps on getting better and better with age. She's a champion of NRLW. And on the other side of the coin, in the Canberra side, you've got Samaima Taufa at lock there, their captain. And, Zahara Tamara is their captain at 5'8". A lot of experience there, but also, as I said, Samaima Taufa as well. Look, I think the Raiders might get this win, actually. They've got a lot of confidence, and they're winning games. I'm going to tip an upset here. I'm going to go the Raiders in that one. And the last game in the NRLW for this weekend sees the Newcastle Knights take on the Sharks. 2nd versus 7th. The Sharks, a new team in the competition. The Newcastle Knights premiers from 2022. And look, this is going to be a difficult task for the Sharks. They start off the season not too bad. A whole lot of new players coming together. I think the experience of the Newcastle Knights will get this win. Tamika Upton up fullback. Jesse Southwell, as I said, kicked that goal near full time or on full time to get the win last week at halfback. And then you got Yasmin Clydesdale in at second row. And Jesse's sister, Hannah Southwell, comes back into the side as captain and lock as well. So I'm going to go Newcastle in this one up there at McDonald Jones Stadium. So just to recap the NRLW tips, I'm going to go the Eels, the Dragons, the Roosters, the Raiders, and the Knights. All right, let's look at round 26 in the NRL, and only 2 regular season games to go. And it kicks off on Thursday night with the Panthers hosting the Parramatta Eels, so a local derby here. You can tune in to my game day podcast with Mark Geyer, obviously a Panthers legend, big MG, great bloke too. So we sat down the other day and had a chat about this game. It was before the teams were named, but nevertheless, it was a game day preview, so check that one out when that one comes out and hear Big MG's thoughts about this game. My thoughts about this game, you'll also hear my thoughts, but my thoughts now about this game, and look, it's going to be a difficult win. It's going to be a difficult game for Parramatta, obviously, to win. They haven't had the season that they wanted to have, obviously, this year, making the grand final last year. They've had injuries, suspensions this year. They haven't had the same team week in, week out, but look, they had a chance last week to beat the Roosters and still be in that finals hunt, but unfortunately it was a big loss to the Roosters at CommBank, so it doesn't look like the Eels will be playing finals football this season, but they will want to go out with a bit of pride in the jumper and get the win against the Penrith Panthers, the local rival, the local derby. You never know what can happen in a local derby. The players love playing in these sides, especially those that have change from one team to another, like Regan Campbell-Gillard, Jermaine Hopgood playing, Bryce Cartwright playing against their old club Penrith for the Parramatta side. So you never know what could happen, but this Penrith machine, it keeps on rolling on. They're hot favourites to win this game and get closer to a third minor premiership in 4 years. They haven't rested any players this week, so Jerome Luai, Nathan Cleary, Stephen Crichton, Dylan Edwards, James Fisher-Harris, Liam Martin, Isaiah Yeo, they're all there. Going to be an interesting game, this one. Look, people are going to call me crazy, but I'm going to tip Parramatta to finish the season on a high, beating the Panthers. The last time these two sides played, it was a Mitchell Moses field goal that got the victory. He's not playing this week, so going to be very difficult for Parramatta, but stranger things have happened. I'm going to tip Parramatta, but be sure to tune into the Game Day podcast with MG. The first game on Friday night sees the Warriors take on the Dragons over there at Go Media Stadium in Auckland, their home ground. And again, this is going to be a massive ask for the Dragons to get the win over there in New Zealand, with this New Zealand side just playing some great football at the moment. Dallin Watene-Zelezniak scoring tries in the corner, unbelievable tries as well. Scored a hat-trick last week. He is in form, the most tries he's scored in a season this year. Sean Johnson, we've spoken about it all season, he's having a great year as well. Adam Fanua-Blake up the front there in the front row, and Murata Niokore going back to New Zealand and playing for the Warriors has had a great season as well. So look, I'm not going to spend too much time on this one. I think the Warriors will get the win in this one against the Dragons. Look, I don't think the Warriors will make the top two, so they may not get a home semi-final in the first week, but they sure will get one in the second week if they don't win the first week. Now, moving on to the second game on Friday night, sees the Dolphins take on the Cowboys at Suncorp Stadium. This one, Suncorp Stadium in Brisbane, now available after the Women's World Cup had finished, and congratulations to the Matildas. You did a great effort in this Women's World Cup. Certainly got the nation on board with you and did your nation proud. So congratulations on fourth spot, the highest finishing position a Australian football/soccer team has ever made in a World Cup. So congratulations, great stuff there. But now Suncorp Stadium is back and it's available for rugby league, and the Dolphins will take on the Cowboys. The Cowboys, they are still in the hunt for a top 8 spot. They're on equal points with the Rabbitohs, although the Rabbitohs have the bye this week. So crucial game for the Cowboys. They play the Panthers in the last round, so they need to get this win this weekend against the Dolphins to have any chance of possibly playing finals football. It's going to be difficult. 14th versus 9th. The Cowboys are favourites in this game, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Dolphins just really stand up in this game at Suncorp in front of their home crowd, well, one of their home crowds, Suncorp Stadium. Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow back to fullback. Cody Nikorima back to 5'8", partnering Sean O'Sullivan. Look, I think a massive loss for the Cowboys with Jeremiah Nanai out again. So big loss there. Look, I'm going to tip the Cowboys, and I think it's going to be only just. I think they just have too much to play for this weekend, so I'm going to tip the Cowboys in that one. And Saturday, 3 p.m. sees the Storm take on the Titans at Amy Park in Melbourne, and the big in for Melbourne, and it's great to see 19th man Ryan Pappenhausen. Now, he hasn't played first grade rugby league, or pretty much rugby league, for 13 months or so now, since that terrible knee injury. But he is back, named at 19th man. Will he get a start on the bench, perhaps? Who knows? Only time will tell. We'll probably know closer to the game or the night before. But where do you play him? Do you play him off the bench? Do you put him straight back at fullback? I'd probably put him on the bench somewhere, and it's a pretty handy replacement to have, and then just ease him back into first grade, and then maybe next week against the Broncos he can start, and a great player to have for Melbourne's charge towards the finals. Unfortunately for the Titans, Jaden Campbell is out due to injury, I think a patella injury, so unfortunately he's out for about 5 to 6 months, I think, so very sad to see that, so we wish him all the best in his recovery. One of the Titans' best players this season, and it's sad to see him injured and not being able to finish off the year. So I think it's going to be hard for the Titans to get this win this week against the Melbourne Storm. The Melbourne Storm, they want to hold on to that 4th position on the table just to get that second bite of the cherry in the finals if needed. So I'm going to tip Melbourne in this one. The middle game on Saturday, 5:30 at Allianz Stadium, sees the Roosters take on the Tigers. Now, both these teams had wins last start. The Roosters against Parramatta, and the Tigers a 1 point win against the Dolphins after an Api Coruscant masterclass, where he, off the kickoff after the Dolphins kicked the field goal, did an amazing kickoff straight to a Tigers player on the left-hand side of the field. The Tigers got a penalty, and then he's kicked the goal from the sideline 30 metres out. Great goal it was. Look, I think it's going to be difficult for the Tigers to get the win, with the Roosters still in the hunt for that top 8 position. They need to win this game and the next game as well, just to have any chance as well. So it's going to be very difficult for the Tigers. James Tedesco's out due to concussion protocols. Joey Manu goes back to fullback. Corey Allen comes into the centres for Joey Manu. Jared Wolverine-Hargreaves is back. Lindsay Collins got the Chad Robinson medal in that game against Parramatta. Did an unbelievable tackle on Dylan Brown. Also dislodged the ball on Will Penasini going for a try. So, look, I'm going to go the Roosters in this one. I think the Tigers will be brave. They've shown a little bit of fight in some of their recent games, but the Roosters have too much to play for, and at home I'm going to go the Roosters in that one. The last game of Super Saturday sees the Raiders take on the Broncos at GIO Stadium in Canberra. The Broncos, coming off a bye this week, head down to the nation's capital to take on the Raiders, who are still in that top 8 at the moment. They had a win against the Bulldogs, 36-24. The Broncos, they're flying. They absolutely demolished the Eels, 54-10. Win against the Cowboys, the Roosters, the Rabbitohs, the Bulldogs. So they are flying. I think it's 7 in a row, I think they may have won. So they find themselves on equal points with the Penrith Panthers in second position. So they're fighting for that minor premiership. The Raiders, they're fighting to stay in that top 8. They're currently on 32 points. I think they may just scrape in. Whether they stay in the position they are at the moment or drop to 7th or just make it in 8th is we just have to wait and see. But I think they will make the top 8 and play finals football. As for this game, though, I think the Broncos, they want to stay in touch with those Panthers up the top of the ladder. Adam Reynolds is out for the Broncos again this week, so Jock Madden takes his spot. So, look, I think the Broncos will get this win. The Raiders sort of struggled a little bit against the Bulldogs last week. It was a bit neck and neck for a while, but then they got a few late tries and eventually won the game. But I think the Broncos will get the win in this one down in Canberra. The first game on Sunday sees the Bulldogs take on the Sea Eagles at Accor Stadium in Sydney, the Bulldogs' home ground. And look, two teams that are out of finals contention, just playing for pride at the moment. Tried to impress the coaches and their own form as well, trying to impress themselves as well. So look, this could be anything scoring game. This could be very interesting. The big talking point out of this one is that Josh Schuster has been dropped to 18th man there out of the 5/8 position. Jake Arthur takes his spot there, so a very interesting one there. Ruben Garrick is out with a back injury from a controversial tackle in last week's game against the Warriors. So interesting, that one. So it's going to be an interesting game. I think there could be a lot of points scored in this one. I think Manly may get the win in this one, just over the Bulldogs. So I think the Bulldogs have shown glimpses of good footy, but I think Manly will get this win as well. What do we got next? We've got the Knights taking on the Sharks. Look, the Knights, they will probably have to be the form team of the competition at the moment. They have won, I think, 7 in a row. So they have been the form team of the competition, along with the Broncos and the Panthers as well, I guess you could say. But from where they were early on in the season to now, they've really galvanised together and have been playing some great footy. I think Bradman Best coming back from Origin has helped his game. Obviously, Kalen Ponga not playing Origin has helped his game at Newcastle. Jackson Hastings comes back into the side this week after having a week off due to that hip drop tackle against the Bulldogs. I think it's Old Boys Day at Newcastle. The Sharks in 5th position. They got the win last week against the Cowboys up there in Townsville. So they have shown that they can get a win, and they've sort of turned their season around in the last few weeks as well. They had a win against the Rabbitohs over in Perth after that loss to the Panthers, and have pushed three in a row now. So look, the last time these two teams played, that was in the middle of the year, and it was actually at Coffs Harbour. So the Sharks got the win, 26 points to 6 in that one. But these are two different football teams this time of year. This is going to be a cracker of a game. If Newcastle can win this game, they will play finals football, and they will maybe host a home final as well, which will be massive for the Newcastle Knights. It is Newcastle Knights Old Boys Day, so they have a very good record on that day in the competition. So I'm going to tip Newcastle in that one. So just recap, and obviously South Sydney have the bye this week before their big blockbuster clash against the Roosters next week. So recapping my tips for this week, I'm going to go the Eels, the Warriors, the Cowboys, the Storm, the Roosters, the Broncos, the Sea Eagles, and the Knights. So happy tipping. Let me know in the comments on the post if you have gone the same or different and why. Let me know. 6 out of 8 last week. Hoping I can get a perfect round this week. It might all hinge on that first game of the week, which is the Panthers versus the Eels. I will be out there at the Bluebet Stadium on Thursday night, so if you see me, come and say g'day. And hopefully Parramatta get the win to end their season on a high. Thank you very much for listening. Happy tipping. Enjoy your football, and chat soon.
for listening to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. See you next time.